You've heard the name, right? Atlantis? For centuries, it's been this whisper of a lost golden age, the ultimate legend, a super advanced paradise just swallowed by the sea in a single day. So today, we're going to peel back the layers of this incredible myth and see what's really going on under the surface.
So, what are we really dealing with here? Is Atlantis just a story that Plato made up to teach a lesson, or could it be a genuine piece of lost history, maybe even a warning for us today? Well, to figure that out, we've got to sift through all the evidence, and I mean all of it. We're talking ancient philosophy, modern geology, and even some of the, let's say, stranger claims from mystics.
All right, so where do we even begin with a story this big? Well, you have to go back to the source. And for Atlantis, that means going back to the ancient Greek philosopher who started it all, Plato. He's the one who gave us the first and really the only detailed account of this sunken paradise.
Yeah, our only original source for Atlantis isn't some dusty old treasure map. It's literally the writings of Plato. And get this, he wasn't telling it like some fictional bedtime story. No, he claimed it was a true history, a story passed down through generations, all the way from ancient Egyptian priests. That's a pretty bold claim, right?
And Plato didn't just vaguely mention it. He was incredibly specific. He gives us this whole blueprint. He said it was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules. That's what we call the Strait of Gibraltar today. He described this massive island power that existed almost 12,000 years ago. And then, boom, it vanished in a single day and night of insane earthquakes and floods. Just gone, like it was never there.
And let's talk about the wealth, because it was just staggering. Plato describes riches so immense that, and I'm quoting here, they had never before been possessed by kings. We're not just talking about a wealthy kingdom. This was an empire built on a level of opulence that the world has, supposedly, never, ever seen since.
Now, a huge part of this insane wealth came from a mysterious metal called orichalcum. Ever heard of it? Plato says it flashed with a kind of reddish light and was worth more than anything except gold. They mined it all over the island, and they used it to decorate their temples and palaces. It was a symbol of just how unique and advanced they were.
Okay, so, if Plato is telling a true story, a historical record, then you have to ask the big question, where's the proof? Where's the physical evidence? Let's switch gears a bit and look at the modern search and see what geology has to say about all this.
Well, one of the most compelling theories out there puts Atlantis exactly where Plato said it was, smack dab in the middle of the Atlantic. And the idea here is that Atlantis wasn't just some island. No, it was a whole continent, sitting on top of a massive mountain range that's now completely underwater.
I mean, check this out. If you could just magically drain the entire Atlantic Ocean, you'd see it, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. It's a mountain chain as big as the Himalayas, just underwater. And this theory suggests that the islands we see sticking out of the water today, the Azores, the Canary Islands, they're actually just the very highest peaks of this massive sunken range. So, could these be the last mountaintops of a truly lost continent?
But look, the physical search is only one piece of this puzzle. To really try and understand the whole legend of Atlantis, we have to go beyond geology and, well, into much stranger territory. We're talking about the esoteric accounts that describe not just where the Atlanteans lived, but who they were.
Now, to understand this next perspective, you first have to get your head around the concept of a root race. So in these theosophical teachings, the idea is that humanity evolves through 7 big stages or cycles, and each race has its own unique physical and spiritual traits. It's a pretty grand story about how we all evolve as a species on this planet.
So according to this whole framework, we, right now, are the 5th root race. The Atlanteans? They were the ones right before us, the 4th. And mystics like Helena Blavatsky described them as reaching the absolute peak of physical development. We're talking giants, famous for their incredible strength and beauty. It's where some think the old legends of the Titans actually came from.
And their evolution wasn't just physical, not by a long shot. The Atlanteans supposedly had a fully functional third eye. Think of it as an organ for spiritual perception that gave them these incredibly deep intuitive powers. But, story goes, as their society got more and more materialistic, that amazing sense just kind of withered away and was eventually lost to us.
So, you've got this incredible spiritual power. But according to these accounts, it was matched by a level of technology that sounds like it was ripped straight out of science fiction, and it was all powered by a mysterious, universal energy.
The absolute key to all their amazing tech was mastering this universal life force. Some people call it vril, others call it prana or mana. By tapping into and controlling this energy, they could supposedly do incredible things, manipulate matter, reverse gravity, and power their entire civilization without creating any pollution. Think about that.
The famous psychic Edgar Cayce actually described this technology in a lot of detail. He said the heart of their entire power grid was something called the Great Crystal. So they'd put this huge crystal in a special building to capture and focus energy from the sun, the stars, you name it. And then this power was beamed out wirelessly across the whole continent. It ran everything from their vehicles to their cities. I mean, it's basically wireless charging for an entire civilization. Clean, limitless energy.
Okay, so if they had this basically perfect society with technology we can only dream of, what on earth went wrong? Well, this is where the story of Atlantis becomes a classic cautionary tale. It's all about power, corruption, and a society tearing itself apart.
According to Edgar Cayce's readings, Atlantean society basically split right down the middle into two warring factions. On one side, you had the Children of the Law of One. These guys were the spiritual purists, all about balance and harmony. But then you had the Sons of Belial. They became totally consumed by greed and materialism. They abused their technology for power and control, and they treated other beings like slaves. This deep division was the beginning of the end.
And here's the thing. The end didn't happen all at once. Cayce describes three separate, massive destructions that happened over thousands and thousands of years. The first two were basically self-inflicted, caused by them misusing their own super-powerful technology and the constant fighting between the two factions. That final event, the one around 10,000 BC, that's the big one that Plato wrote about, when the very last piece of their island finally slipped beneath the waves for good.
But the story claims that not all of their knowledge was lost. See, before that final catastrophe, the good guys, the Children of the Law of One, they supposedly got out. They emigrated, and they carried their wisdom with them to other parts of the world. And people who believe this theory say that's how you get advanced knowledge just suddenly popping up in places like ancient Egypt and Peru, leading to incredible things like the pyramids.
And you know, the legacy of Atlantis might not be entirely in the past. In fact, it could still be active today, because the supposed location of Atlantis lines up pretty well with one of the most mysterious places on Earth, the Bermuda Triangle. You know the place, famous for ships and planes just vanishing and all sorts of weird equipment failures.
Which, of course, leads to a wild and fascinating question. Could one of those great crystals be sitting at the bottom of the ocean, damaged but still active, causing all of that electromagnetic chaos in the Bermuda Triangle? Who knows? But the legend of Atlantis really does leave us with this powerful echo, a whisper from a world that might not be quite as lost as we think.